Good afternoon and welcome to the Center for Women in Business and Digital Nova Scotia's Innovate 2020. My name is Erin Casey and I'll be your host this afternoon. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship that Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik Maliseet people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Our thoughts are with everyone who has been impacted by the recent events and violence in Southwest Nova Scotia. We encourage you, as we have been, to ask questions and learn as much as you can so that we can stand together as one community. Well, hello everyone and welcome. We're doing something a little different this year. It's good to see you, even though I actually can't see any of you. So I'm going to imagine that you're smiling and hopefully laughing at my jokes. So I understand that we have people from across Canada with us, so a warm welcome to you if you're joining us here in Nova Scotia this afternoon. And happy Small Business Week to everyone. So my name is Erin Casey. As I said, I'm a professional writer and editor based here in Halifax, and I'm coming to you from the comfort and privacy of my home office, as you can see. I did try to get a fancy backdrop, but I couldn't make it work. So this is my 5th year hosting the event, which seems incredible. And we're a little late this year, and I was joking with the team before we went live that it's tradition to have this event on a miserable rainy evening in the spring. So instead we're having it on a rainy evening in the fall. And hopefully we can get back on schedule next spring for next year's event. So I hope that seeing my face will help you feel a little more comfortable. It's something familiar. And I'm just really happy to be here again this year. So I do have a favor to ask. As you probably noticed, we were just a couple minutes late getting started today, and we're all learning kind of as we go with the Zoom and the feed loop and the online hosting. This is my first time doing something like this, so we ask for your patience, and the important thing is that we're all here together. We could all interact with each other beforehand, and that we're all going to have this great experience learning and celebrating success tonight. And everything else, as they say in the Maritimes, is gravy. So, an important note before we get started, our moderator will not forgive me if I don't tell you this. If at any time you have any technical issues, there's a phone number you can call. So that phone number is 902-445-4846. That's 445-4846. And I'm hoping that's being put in the chat right now so you can see it. And we'll do our best to sort you out if you have any trouble. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Wendy Cukier. So you may have heard Dr. Cukier on the Sheldon McLeod show yesterday on News 95.7, and we're thrilled to have her here with us today. So Dr. Cukier is Professor of Entrepreneurship and Strategy and Academic Director of the Diversity Institute at the Ted Rogers School of Management at Ryerson University. She holds an MA, MBA, PhD in Management Science, and 2 honorary doctorates. Dr. Cukier is one of Canada's leading experts in disruptive technologies, innovative processes, and diversity and inclusion. The Diversity Institute works with partners on projects aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion in leadership and entrepreneurship. Wendy leads the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, funded by the Government of Canada, which promotes inclusive supports for women and other diverse entrepreneurs. She was also an integral part of the bid for the new $260 million Ryerson-led Future Skills Center, also funded by the Government of Canada, and now leads a program of research focused on driving innovative approaches to bridging the skills gap. Wendy has helped create and grow several successful startups and social ventures, including Flybits, Think2Thing, the Madeline Collective, and Growing North, which is now called Green Igloo. Wendy will share her thoughts with us and then chat with Chevrier, CEO and founder of Sampler. If you have questions for our speakers, please pop them in the chat. on the right-hand side of your screen, and our moderator will send them along to our speakers at the end of their interview. So put your questions in there, and they'll be happy to answer them at the end. So welcome, Wendy. We're so happy to have you with us.
I'm so happy to be here. And it's so nice to see so many friends and colleagues who are working with me on the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. I know there's someone from Dal there. I know that the Mount St. Vincent Women Center for Women in Business, I see a couple people there. I saw Ellen Farrell in the chat, and you know, the work that's being done in your region is really in some ways a lesson for all of us, because the connections in the ecosystem, the fact that people sit around the table and plan and work together, really is very different than you see in other parts of the country. So we're really pleased to be able to work with so many organizations in Halifax and the Atlantic region to try to advance women's entrepreneurship, but also to build a more inclusive innovation ecosystem. And what do I mean by that? Well, the government has announced, I guess, a $5 billion now investment in a women entrepreneurship strategy. And with COVID, they've really ramped up, and they recognize the importance of entrepreneurship generally and women's entrepreneurship in particular to building Canada's economy at the best of times and to our recovery at the worst of times. But they also, I think, are starting to understand that $5 billion is a lot, but it's not enough. And if you look at the investments of the government across the ecosystem in terms of the money they put into research and development, economic development, the regional development agencies, the super clusters, et cetera, it's a much bigger pie. And one of the things that we're working really hard on with the collaboration of many of our partners, including the regional development agencies and others, is to try to figure out how we can unlock access to some of those resources to make sure that women are at the table and can grow their businesses. So the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub is really intended to complement programs that have been around for many years by strengthening the fabric that binds the pieces together. Because what I would observe is that if you look nationally in Canada, there are a lot of initiatives, there are a lot of incubators. We work with iInc, Dal is part of that. There are, you know, tons and tons of entrepreneurship training programs and support programs and mentoring programs and so on. But the connectivity between some of them is not so strong. And so you're not learning from each other. You see people who, you know, want to launch a new program, for example, to build financial literacy in women, and they don't necessarily know about what other programs already exist that they can tap into. So one of the things we're trying to do is really strengthen that connectivity and share information about who's doing what and best practices, and try to build a more cohesive connection across the country, recognizing that the regional ecosystems are, of course, critically important. When we think about women entrepreneurship, the other thing that we're really trying to do is to crack the stereotype. You know, you go to a group of people and you say, name 3 entrepreneurs, chances are it's going to be Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Mark Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk, or whoever's in trouble this week. And there's a very strong association between the word entrepreneurship, tech, and frankly, men. And one of the things we're trying to do is open that up, because as you know, being an entrepreneur just means that you're doing something new. It can be social in its focus. You may be an artist. You may be a tradesperson who's running a small business. You may be a fisher. You may be a farmer. You may be a tech entrepreneur. You may be running a service. but the breadth that entrepreneurship has is often lost in some of these stereotypes. So we're really trying to crack that and also to profile successes of women entrepreneurs. And you have a number of stellar examples from the East Coast that we're building into our new See It, Be It campaign. Stay tuned for more about that. The other thing that we're trying to do is to test out new models and tools. We've launched a new Ask Give platform modeled on something that SheEO launched for its relatively small group of members to try to provide women entrepreneurs with an opportunity to ask for what they need and others to offer what they can give. And what is very challenging about most women, perhaps not me, is they're more inclined to offer than they are to ask. And so just teaching women entrepreneurs to ask for what they want, to ask for what they need, is part of the whole process of building a strong entrepreneurship ecosystem. And we're hoping that the Ask Give platform will help. So there's lots of stuff that we're doing in partnership with great organizations like the ones in Atlantic Canada, right across the country. And if any of you want more information, just check out www.wekh.ca. So that's the word from your sponsor. Now what I'd like to do is introduce today's keynote speaker, Marie Chevrier, and she's the founder and CEO of Sampler, which is the leader in direct-to-consumer sampling. She started her career in advertising at J. Walter Thompson, and from there she had an opportunity to work at a VC firm in New York City. Then she came back to Toronto to combine her passion for marketing with her passion for technology, and she started Sampler with a vision of transforming the way consumer packaged goods companies distribute products. She's the co-host of Tech Toronto's newest community called Retail TO and the lead of Retail Tomorrow TO, a one-week immersion event that brings together US retailers and brands to Toronto. She's also a volunteer mentor at many incubators. So please welcome me you've welcomed me. Please join me in welcoming Marie to the discussion.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, everyone.
So, I was looking at your background and it really is fascinating. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your journey and the bumps along the way, and particularly, what is it that you know now that you wish you had known at the beginning that you would like to share with the many women entrepreneurs that are on the call?
Yeah, so I mean, my background, like many other entrepreneurs, has always been to be someone who is kind of solution oriented. I always remember, like, when I was studying, always thinking, why is something done this way? And there has to be a better way. And I think those were probably some of the early signs that I had entrepreneurship in my blood. Like every entrepreneur, I had to find my problem that I was going to solve. So while in university, I was actually a brand ambassador. I worked for a company called WEKH, where we handed out free product samples on street corners or in grocery stores. And ultimately, we were representing these brands and giving out product to consumers who were walking by. So that was my first time coming across product sampling. And what really made me, question the way we were doing it was the fact that I had no idea who I was giving out a sample to. I would have men come and be like, "Oh, it's for my wife," or I would have people come by and say, "Oh, can I have two?" Right? So the attribution of product sampling, truly understanding who exactly is receiving that sample and how it converts to a purchase, was nowhere near where we were in advertising in general, right? And so that's kind of my first insight. Now, as you mentioned, Wendy, in your introduction of me, you know, after that, I worked in an agency. I worked in a digital marketing agency, and then I went into venture capital. So I kept, you know, kind of building, if you will, my confidence, my savoir-faire, if you will, about you know what I would eventually continue solving. But eventually, a moment came in 2013 where that idea was still ruminating in my brain. I had learned a lot about building businesses while I was in venture capital. And I was like, you know what, there's no one better than me to solve product sampling. And I decided to go ahead and take the first step. And I think that to answer your question about what I would tell myself back then is you can do it. You are as well suited as anyone to solve the problem. And really at the end of the day, what sets apart people that are successful and that are building businesses is just their willingness to make this their life's mission. And for me, product sampling is something that I am just as passionate about solving 7 years later as I was that first day. So I think that's what I would tell myself, like, if you have the passion, you can do it.
And that's so interesting because one of the biggest things that comes out with, especially with women entrepreneurs, is the confidence issue. And I know that that's one of the things that the Mount is very, very focused on in the programming it develops for women entrepreneurs. So you started there, you're here now. Tell us a little bit about the big challenges along the way, because I do think that you know, these are never easy paths. And I think sharing with people some of the real obstacles that you faced and how you overcame them would be really helpful.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, there's so many, but I'll say, like, every time I get asked that question, I always say the largest challenges are always going to be at the beginning. I remember, like, at the beginning, just needing to go sign up for my CRA tax number and it being like the most daunting task ever. And it's so simple to some people, but to me, that was like the one thing. Is like, I could build a marketing plan, I could decide on a logo, I could find our name, whatever, that didn't matter. But when it came to like setting up kind of like the financial systems of our business and understanding like tax policies and all that stuff, it was really, really daunting. And you are alone in those moments. You are alone. You don't necessarily have someone to call on to when you're initially starting. So I think that's the biggest thing. And if you're coming across like some of these early challenges that are just outside of your comfort zone, just know that you should, you know, set some time aside. And even though it might take you like 10 times more time than the average person to figure out your CRA number, if you just can get through that one step, you will gain again more confidence in your ability to achieve those little things. And I still come across things like that. And, you know, obviously I have more resources now. I have a team of 30 people that can help me with that. But you still come across these things sometimes that just stop you. So that's a big one. But then like Samplers of venture-backed business, we raised over $10 million. That's not easy. So definitely can share some you know, war stories about fundraising. Scaling teams is difficult, right? Like, you know, the culture that you might have built when you were 3, 4, 5 people, how do you scale that to 30 people? So I'd say those would be kind of the big ones. So yeah, the day-to-day little challenges, finance, strategy, and then people, because I feel like people is such an important part of building a business. So.
Well, you know, speaking of people, I am really interested because you're kind of a perfect example of the sort of people that I always point to. We do have this strong association of entrepreneurship and tech. We do know that tech space is very much dominated by engineers and computer scientists, even though, you know, Kylie Jenner was a billionaire at the age of 20 using Shopify to sell her stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that aspect of your journey, the fact that you were an arts graduate who sort of I mean, even how you started working as a VC is sort of a mystery. Can you talk a little bit about your path? Because
Of
I'm
course.
a big believer in, arts and social sciences can provide a really solid foundation for doing anything that you want.
Yeah.
And you exemplify that.
Yeah. If someone would ask me what my major in university was, I probably would say sorority before I would say before I would say arts. But yeah, I did arts and marketing. That's right. And yeah, it's a very different path that gets me into tech. But so let me talk quickly about the VC experience. So I'm sure you've all felt in some way, or you're feeling it coming, these pivotal moments in your life where you're like, oh my God, if this didn't happen, my life would be so different. So what ended up happening is I remember the day that I Googled for the first time the word entrepreneur. I was working at an agency and I really was just curious about what entrepreneurship meant. I literally looked at the Wikipedia, this definition of entrepreneur. And after a series of searches and looking on LinkedIn, I ended up finding one person who lived in Montreal, which is where I'm originally from. And he was the leader of the Entrepreneurship Society in Montreal. And I sent one LinkedIn message and I said, Guillaume is his name. I said, Guillaume, would you please have a coffee with me? Just want to learn about entrepreneurship. And obviously I'm sure he gets a lot of those messages. And so lucky for me, somehow, somewhere, 2-3 weeks later, he actually agreed to meet with me. I met with him and he had just been assigned to launch a VC firm in Canada that was originally from Europe. And so he said, we're now in Montreal. He's like, if you can move, by the end of the conversation, he was like, if you can move to Toronto next week, I can get you as the CMO of one of the startups that I'm working on. The CMO, I was literally an account coordinator at an agency, right? So I was like, sounds great. And it was one of those moments where I decided to do that and it changed everything. Moved to Toronto within 30 days. Sure enough, well, not sure enough, but sadly enough, this startup ended up deciding that they were not going to run the office out of Toronto. They were going to run the office out of New York. And it was backed by a really big firm that could just make these hasty decisions. So my role was terminated and somehow somewhere got introduced to somebody else as the CMO of our current startup. And they said, well, we have a role. It's called an entrepreneur in residence. And they started kind of talking to me. I really don't think they looked at my resume that much. But I was hired as an entrepreneur in residence at a VC firm with literally 2 weeks of startup experience. And I moved to New York City 2 weeks after that. But again, we talked a little bit about that, can I do it? That kind of imposter syndrome, that confidence. I got on that plane and I crammed an entire business book. It was crazy. I was just reading startup finance or something like that. And I landed and I was like, I'm just going to fake it till I make it with this. And it turned out I worked my little buttocks off and I just figured it out. I figured it all out. And by the end of that year, I became the co-founder of one of the startups that the VC firm had. And it was just the most amazing, it was like an MBA, but it all started from that one moment where I was like, you know what, I'm going to take this plunge. So that completely changed my life. And so that's the VC. And then my startup ended up failing, the one that I was started with the VC firm. And so they shipped me out of New York because I lost my visa. And so I moved to my friend's house. She was nice enough to let me live on her couch for free. And I said, well, there really isn't a better time. This is rock bottom. So there isn't a better time to actually just like start on my own. And I think at that point, I really gotten the bite, or the whatever you call it, the what do you call it? That piqûre?
Rhythm?
Yeah. And I just really wanted to get started with my own business. So that's when I started Sampler. But I didn't have any tech experience, to your point, Wendy. And if you recall, that VC firm was European. So in Germany, I knew one developer who I had talked to only via Skype, and I convinced him to build the first version of Sampler. And so that's how we got technology going.
It's amazing. That's such a good story. COVID has had a crushing impact on entrepreneurs generally, and especially women, although there are some exceptions. What's the impact been on your company and on you personally?
Yeah, so when COVID hit, we initially were, like everyone, just really concerned about, what will happen, nobody knew what to expect. One of the major concerns I had was, what if COVID could be distributed via mail, because Sampler ships products directly to consumers' homes. But very quickly we realized that actually all of us were going to rely on mail more than ever, and that Amazon packages quickly became the highlight of everyone's days, right? And so we had to kind of take our team into like this holding pattern for like a quick week or two, and very quickly adapt to, this is an opportunity. This is a massive opportunity for us. So within the last 6 months, Sampler has seen a 2x growth in sales. So massive increase, which has been just incredible for the business. We believe that in the retail space, in the consumer packaged goods space, folks had been already starting to think about more targeted ways of sampling, but that this has forced them to try it. And that now that they've tried it, they're going to be really hooked on it, because it is fully targetable, it is fully measurable. So it's been a big opportunity, but with opportunity comes great responsibility, I think, especially throughout this time. So I'll say like my biggest concern now is, how do I make sure that my team is actually staying sane, staying safe, staying healthy. We talk a lot about balance. We talk a lot about the opportunity for people now to own their own schedules. I think that's such an important value to have as an organization. Like, we all have more difficult, family situations, home situations now, the kids running around and whatnot. So giving people that ability to manage that I think has been really key.
So last question, because I think you've hit on some really important points, is one of the things that's really interesting for a lot of women entrepreneurs who are trying to scale up is how they learn how to partner with large players. And you're partnering with many of the biggest. So can you talk a little bit about how that worked and what some of the tips are for developing those kinds of relationships when you're starting very small?
For sure. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, just because I want you all to know that you can do it, I'll tell you, Sampler, Toronto-based company, currently works with 1/3 of the top 100 consumer packaged good companies. So think of L'Oreal and Kimberly-Clark and Hershey and all of these awesome brands. And we work with them in 25 countries, which is so crazy. And I'm so proud of our team for that. So how we got there. So initially, what I'll say is I had very deep understanding of the problem that I wanted to solve, but I don't know that the folks that I was initially talking to were really ready for that problem solve. So initially, the way that I went to market, and I highly suggested, it was before I put the clock on the 7 years, but about, a year before starting Sampler, I actually had started a bit of a consultancy where I was helping folks in marketing. So helping brand managers, which would further down the line become my target market for Sampler, do social media and like things like that, right? So if you're currently in a situation where you're working full-time somewhere, you're not ready to go full-time into building your startup, if you can get consulting gigs into something very similar, you're going to have direct conversations with your potential customers on an ongoing basis. You're going to build trust with them, and they'll eventually be like, hey, you know what? Like, she does know what she's talking about when it comes to marketing. And so they'll really, really be, I think, a lot more inclined to eventually buy from you. And you can use that as your customer discovery. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is I started with the small companies and built case studies around specific spaces. So initially we really worked a lot in the baby industry. I got every small emerging baby company, you know, on board. And that was an easier sale, right? Because you're selling them like $5,000, $10,000 contracts. But eventually I had so many case studies in baby that it was kind of easy for me to go to Huggies and be like, hey, all these emerging brands are doing this, so you should totally be also looking into that. So building proof of concepts or case studies with smaller players is a really big key. And then the third I'd say, which we were really lucky with, is a lot of large corporates have innovation arms and innovation challenges and contests and startup pitches. And I remember someone coming to me one day and be like, Marie, you're like a 4-year-old company. You're like pretty well established. Like, why are you participating in startup pitch contests? And I'm like, because the prize is a pilot with like Mondelez or with like Kraft Heinz. Like, of course I'm participating in this. And we were definitely later stage than some of the earlier companies. But then we just won all of these contests, and then we were actually able to get a pilot. And once you get a pilot within that conglomerate, then the hard work really begins. And it's now you have to spread the word within that conglomerate in every single market, in every single brand, that you actually were successful. But don't underestimate the power of those programs.
Thank you so much. You know, I've sat through a lot of these panels and discussions, and your story is amazing and you tell it so well. I really appreciate your time today. Pass it back to you, Erin.
All right, thank you so much. I had to unmute myself there. Isn't that the story of our lives these days, unmuting ourselves? So thanks so much, Wendy and Marie. That was amazing, actually. I really enjoyed that, and I made a ton of notes. But I think my favorite idea or thought from you, Marie, is that you can have a liberal arts background and still be incredibly successful. So I don't know whether, as someone with an English degree, that should make me feel good or like an underachiever, but I appreciate your thoughts. And also the idea that raising $10 million is not easy. Well, I'm sure it isn't. So incredibly impressive, so exciting to hear your story. So thank you. I just want to acknowledge a couple of little things around the questions. We are running a little bit behind, and so we are going to answer your questions, I believe, in writing in the couple of days to come, the ones that have been posted in the chat. And I'd also like to apologize. I think a few people are having some technical difficulties with the Zoom. So if that is the case, we're sorry, and we are doing our best to solve those problems now. Now, the recording of this will be posted by Friday. So if there are things you missed, you'll be able to come to, I believe, the Center for Women in Business website and check out the recording. So in the meantime, we thank you for your understanding. So this is kind of the fun part. Not that that wasn't fun, but the awards are fun, and I really enjoy this piece of the event every year. So we can end the suspense, and the Digital Diversity Awards were established in 2016 to highlight inspiring and influential female leaders working in the ICT sector in Nova Scotia. The awards celebrate the impact and influence of leaders in our community, and that diversity is fueling innovation in our province. Our digital economy is constantly growing and evolving, and the 2020 Digital Diversity Awards have expanded to continue to represent this diverse workforce. We have Wayne here. Wayne is with us. So this is Wayne Sumarah, and Wayne and I have been joking a little bit. I've been practicing pronouncing his name, so thank you for your patience, Wayne. Is CEO of Digital Nova Scotia, and he's passionate about the tech sector, and he spent most of his career with industry-leading ICT companies across Canada. His corporate leadership roles have encompassed strategic business planning, organizational growth, client acquisition, marketing, new product and service development, and program design and implementation. In addition to these roles within the tech sector, Wayne brings a unique combination of small business and public sector experience, including operating a digital marketing agency and various senior leadership roles within government that focused on economic growth, innovation, and sector and workforce development. Over to you, Wayne. Have fun.
Erin, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'd like to, first of all, wish everyone a good afternoon, and very much delighted to be here on behalf of Digital Nova Scotia today. I'm very pleased to present our 5th annual Digital Diversity Awards. And as Erin mentioned, these awards recognize individuals and organizations that have led the way to promote diversity and inclusion within our province's tech sector. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Centre for Women in Business for including us today and our Digital Diversity Awards as part of today's virtual event. Diversity drives innovation, which we believe is essential to the continued success of the tech sector. All of our nominees this year are impactful and proactive leaders, embracing the values of diversity and inclusion. And as our sector continues to grow and evolve, diversity will help us to expand perspectives, accelerate problem solving, and create a collaborative environment. As Erin mentioned, the Digital Diversity Awards date back to and were first established in 2016 to highlight inspiring and influential female leaders working in the tech sector throughout Nova Scotia. This year, we've expanded the awards with additional categories to recognize more ways that diversity is fueling innovation in our province and the impact and influence of leaders across our community. All of the nominations we received were very strong, and selecting the winners was not an easy task for the judging panel. I'd like to thank all of our nominees, nominators, and the judging panel for helping us to make these awards a continued success again this year. So without further ado, and we have 5 awards, I'd like to start with award number 1. So our first award is the Next Generation Leadership Award, which celebrates an emerging female leader or entrepreneur in Nova Scotia's tech sector who goes above and beyond their regular job responsibilities to celebrate diversity. This year's nominees are Alicia Mullins from Mobia, and along with Mrugakshee Palwe from the Atlantic Blockchain Company. And we don't have a virtual drum roll, so I'll improvise. The winner is Mrugakshee, and I'm very pleased to share that information. So Mrugakshee sees the future of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, a complicated subject to teach. She handles this with humility, care, and insight, while espousing its benefits to organizations across Atlantic Canada. In one of the most male-dominated spaces in the tech sector, her voice and the work she does goes above and beyond to add diversity to the conversation around crypto. Her advocacy at the events where she speaks and the content she writes all contribute immensely to inclusion in this industry. She was also the co-president of Acadia's Computer Science Society, which is another testament to her desire to serve the wider tech community. I'm pleased to share a brief video message from Mrugakshee, And we'll play that right now. We'll possibly play it now. Maybe not. Perhaps we'll come back to, oh, maybe here we go. Perhaps we'll come back to that, Rochelle, if that would work. So I think I'll move on to award number 2. So our next award is Fueling the Digital Economy, which celebrates a female leader in a senior level executive position for a tech company or organization who has made a significant contribution to Nova Scotia's tech sector and is an active champion of diversity in her community or organization. This year's nominees are Ana Alfaro from Global Spatial Technology Solutions, Emily Boucher from Techsploration, Liz Goslin from R&G Strategic, and Jennifer LaPlante from DeepSense, along with Jennie Sanford from Proposify, easy for me to say, Proposify, and Emily Smits from Modest Tree. I'm very pleased to announce that this year's winner is Jennie Sanford from Proposify. Jennie is a certified human resources leader and is currently the head of operations at Proposify, a Halifax-based SaaS company. After spending most of her life in and around nonprofits, she found a home in Nova Scotia's digital sector 3 years ago. She spends her spare time volunteering at Dartmouth Learning Network and creating digital projects such as Moxie Munchies. And I think what we'll do, since we may be having a little bit of a challenge with the videos, is I think what I'll do is move on to each of our subsequent awards, and then maybe we'll loop back and see if we can get our videos to play. So in terms of award number 3, our next award is our Changemaker Award. And this celebrates an individual who has proactively inspired diversity in the tech sector through community engagement, working with underrepresented groups, and going above and beyond their regular job responsibilities to celebrate diversity. This year's nominees are Akram Al-otumi from ShiftKey Labs, Laura Bonert from Modest Tree, Amy Conrad from Volta, and Joe Napier from Great Women Productions. And the winner is Akram Al-otumi. Akram is a passionate and dedicated supporter of entrepreneurship and innovation. He is the director of ShiftKey Labs, a software innovation hub located at Dalhousie's Faculty of Computer Science, and a lecturer in innovation and entrepreneurship at Dal as well. Previously, he was a faculty member in entrepreneurship at NSCC. Akram is also an innovation consultant and serial entrepreneur who has founded multiple businesses such as Sprightly Technologies, 3D Next, and Al-otumi Innovation Consulting. He has managed dozens of innovation programs and hackathons in recent years and has experience facilitating multi-day workshops for diverse groups of stakeholders. Our second to last award is the Diversity and Inclusion Champion Award, which celebrates a company or organization that actively promotes the importance of diversity and inclusion in Nova Scotia's tech sector by implementing strategies for welcoming workplaces, diverse hiring practices, and inclusion initiatives. This year's nominees are the Mi'kmaq Economic Benefits Office and Mobia. And I'm pleased to announce that the winner is the Mi'kmaq Economic Benefits Office, also known as MEBO. Working in partnership with various industry, education, and government partners, MEBO has developed a strategic, results-driven approach to Indigenous engagement, while always having a lens on the importance of diversity and inclusiveness in the workplace. Since 2008, MEBO has delivered a very successful series of training programs, as well as work with community members seeking trades training through apprenticeship placements. MEBO's objective within the tech sector is to increase the number of Mi'kmaq students pursuing education and careers in the STEM fields that prepare them with the skills required to fill the labor force gaps within today's technology sector. And our final award today is the Shaping the Future Award, which celebrates a company or organization that has taken a proactive interest in shaping the future workforce in Nova Scotia's tech sector by working with underrepresented groups, rural communities, or new immigrants, by promoting and inspiring youth working in tech, and by recognizing transferable skills in the workplace. This year's nominees are Lockheed Martin, Matters of Data, Mobia, Modest Tree, ShiftKey Labs, and Techsploration. And I'm very pleased to announce that this year's winner is Techsploration. Since 1998, Techsploration has been providing young women from grades 9 through 12 with opportunities to explore science, trades, and technology occupations, while creating awareness about the critical role of work in their lives. Techsploration also helps these individuals understand the significance of high school math and science for future careers. The benefits of the program are multifold. Young women are introduced to careers they may never have considered. Along with their scholarships and bursaries to provide financial support for Techsploration alumni and young women in Nova Scotia, Techsploration positively impacts the entire community as it encourages involvement among students, teachers, partners, role models, government, and industry. So that basically ends our 5 awards. I'm hoping we can get our videos playing, but just in terms of a few closing remarks, I'd like to congratulate all of this year's Digital Diversity Award recipients. It was, as I said, a very tough task for the judging panel. We had some tremendous nominees this year, but I'd like to congratulate all of our winners and our outstanding group of nominees. The contributions all of you have made to encourage and grow diversity and inclusion within the tech sector in our province are truly exemplary. I'd also like to once again thank the Centre for Women in Business for including Digital Nova Scotia's Diversity Awards as part of today's event. So perhaps we can give it another shot and see if we can get our video clips from each of our award winners.
All right, Wayne, I'll try this again. And if the clips don't work, I apologize. They will all be uploaded to our Digital Nova Scotia social media accounts on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook so that everyone can watch them there. But I'll give it another try.
Excellent. Thanks, Rochelle.
Last week, my husband and I watched the King's Speech, and we're curious about Winston Churchill and to see what other movies were out there about him, and then really long rabbit hole of what he was famous for, and came across one of his quotes, which is, "Success is moving from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm." And the reason that I bring that up is because as soon as I received the email and read it about receiving this particular award, the first thought I got to myself, or I thought of was, oh, did they make a mistake? Am I the only person of color who was nominated? Did they make the right choice? And all of these thoughts of self-doubt. And to me, that was a failure in my mind, because all year I'd been working on abolishing self-doubt and implementing betting on myself. And then immediately I remembered this quote, challenges. Success was moving from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And I thought, okay, I can't doubt the people who are of sound mind and have made this judgment. I can't doubt that they are of unsound mind. I can't doubt that the person who nominated me didn't know what they were doing. And I also cannot doubt myself, because then all that I worked on is for nothing, for one and for two. Why would I? Why would I doubt myself? So I'd like to take this moment to thank everybody who's watching and everyone who's helped me get to where I am. I would not be here without the ability to stand on the shoulders of giants. And I'm grateful every single day for being able to make an impact on people's lives in any way that I can. Thank you once again.
So that was Mrugakshee from Atlantic Blockchain Company, who won our Next Generation Leadership Award. And next we're going to hear from Jennie Sanford from Proposify, who won our Fueling the Digital Economy Award.
Hi there. I wanted to thank everyone so much for this recognition. So I only started in tech 3 years ago. Before that, I was actually in nonprofit and healthcare, and coming to the tech sphere and the digital sphere in Nova Scotia was a completely different experience. Part of that really was me getting to know the work and everything, but then seeing this whole new world where people were actively working at trying to be inclusive and trying to make tools to be inclusive and trying to overall make the world a better place. So I'm so privileged to be a part of that, and I want to thank everyone who's worked towards that with me at Proposify. Emily, my HR person, is amazing. We have a diversity committee that we work with to help us through everything. And really this honor goes towards everyone who has been my coworker and works at Proposify that makes it a great place to work. I think moments like these are a great rallying cry for all of us, not just award winners, to remind ourselves that we can do better and we are contributing to great things, and to strive for more and to be more inclusive, because that's really what we want our world to be. More inclusive and a warm, welcoming place for everyone. So I'm hopeful for the future that we can all have that together and we all work towards that as a diverse group. Thank you.
All right, and next we're going to hear from Akram from ShiftKey Labs, who won our Keynote Award.
It's such an honor to be recognized with this award. There is so much for us to be proud of in our local entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. It's an exciting time to be part of it, and the collaboration and genuine support that we have here is truly special. I would not be able to do the work that I do without many people who share their time and talents with me and the project that I'm involved in. I would like to take a minute to recognize some of those incredible people who helped me and who I share this award with. The entire Dalhousie University Faculty of Computer Science, from the academic leadership, communications, advancement, and administrative teams to the technical teams, our truly incredible students and our engaged professors within the faculty. Dr. Andrew Chaplin, the Dean, and Dr. Alice Eakin, Dal's VP of Research and Innovation, and the entire innovation and entrepreneurship team leading this work at Dalhousie University. Also the sandboxes across the province who are doing incredible things. The province, the provincial government, for their ongoing support of our ecosystem and seeing the importance of entrepreneurship and innovation to our people and our economy. And of course, my excellent team at ShiftKey Labs, who are incredible and plays a central role in the impact that we have been able to make. One of the things that I most enjoy about my work at ShiftKey Labs is the opportunity to work with so many partners and sponsors from across different sectors. Thank you to each one of them for their ongoing support. And also, I would like to have special thanks to Digital Nova Scotia and to the Center for Women and Business for organizing this meaningful event and for this recognition. Congratulations to all the nominees. I'm very pleased to be recognized and look forward to continuing making a difference. Thank you.
And our last video is from Techsploration, which won the Shaping the Future Award.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Boucher, Techsploration's Interim Executive Director. On behalf of Techsploration's Board of Directors, staff, and our entire community of teachers, students, role models, alumni, and partners, we are so incredibly honored and humbled to be the recipient of Digital Nova Scotia's Digital Diversity Award for Shaping the Future. We truly are a community-led organization and would not exist without our community of supporters, this year more than ever. We would like to extend our sincerest thanks to Digital Nova Scotia for this incredible recognition and to our friends at OnPoint for this thoughtful nomination. We share this recognition with our partner and sponsor organizations and all of the hundreds of individuals, literally hundreds, who help make our programming possible. In particular, I would like to provide a shout out to our founding program partners, the Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency and the Nova Scotia Community College.
And I'm Margaret Davidson, Techsploration's Program Manager. As an alumna of Techsploration from our very first program year in 1998, and now as a staff member, I know the impact of this program firsthand. Techsploration inspires me on a daily basis. It is often the voice in the back of my head saying, I can do this. Techsploration's mission and mandate is now more important than ever. Youth in our region need to understand that the career paths and possibilities are still limitless. Math and science are still vital to essential services. Techsploration's network of inspiring role models includes scientists who are currently developing vaccines for COVID-19, engineers who are creating innovative safety equipment to keep us all safe, skilled trades professionals who are maintaining and building essential infrastructure, and software programmers ensuring we remain connected in a period of isolation. I am so pleased to see that our small but mighty organization has been recognized for the work that we do in shaping the future, not just today, but for tomorrow. We know the future remains bright. Thank you.
Erin, I'd just like to once again congratulate all of our winners and our nominees. Certainly our award winners, but our nominees are all champions in terms of propelling the importance of diversity and inclusion in our tech sector throughout Nova Scotia. So all deserve our recognition. And again, I'd like to thank the Centre for Women in Business for allowing us the stage today to showcase these amazing individuals and organizations.
Thanks so much, Wayne. I'm so happy you got to see the videos. They were delightful, so that's great. And congratulations to all the nominees and the winners. So next we're gonna hear closing remarks from Nora Perry, but just a quick check-in. For those of you who were enjoying the networking on FeedLoop before we started today, I have some good news. Apparently the link will be open and the password valid until January, the end of January of 2021. So if you had some conversations in there, connected with some people, had some chats, and you want to follow up, you can still go in there and do that. So give that a shot, and hopefully we've made some good connections today. So thank you all so much for bearing with me and with us tonight as we do our first online Innovate event, certainly my first online emceeing gig. I'm feeling reasonably good about it, so that's good. I would do it again. So now I want to introduce the talented Nora Perry to give closing remarks, and I do have a formal introduction, but before I do that, I just want to give a little shout out to Nora because Nora was the first person really that I ever met at the Centre for Women in Business when I started there 7 years ago and went to my first networking breakfast, which was back at the Meadows when it was about 15 people. And now when we have our breakfasts, they're about 60 plus. So Nora was really my first contact with the world of entrepreneurship. And 7 years later, I'm figuring out what I want to do. I'm still an entrepreneur and loving it. So thanks, Nora. So Nora herself has been an entrepreneur for 30 plus years and a business advisor and project lead for learning and development with the center for the past 8 years. She has worked with students, startups, and growth-minded companies to navigate the entrepreneurial ecosystem and help them build skills to advance their businesses and their dreams. So Nora believes in an innovative mindset, in the center's programming, and in our businesses is the key to success. So over to you, Nora, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin. And I do remember meeting you at the Meadows many, many years ago. It's hard to believe it was 7 years ago. So good evening, everyone, and thank you to everyone for being here. My name is Nora Perry, as Erin said, and thank you to Erin for the lovely introduction. And I'm a business advisor at the Center for Women in Business. Our executive director, Tanya Prisk, sends her regrets she can't be with us tonight. This is one of my favorite events of the year. One of my biggest personal takeaways, and something we talk a lot with our clients, is don't doubt yourself. Have confidence in your own abilities, and that will take you a long way. One of our goals at the Center for Women in Business is to seek and encourage new ways to create, to grow, to adapt, and this event celebrates that. For me, it's always a source of inspiration, and I hope it has been for you too today. Innovation is and continues to play a key factor in our business world. Through our research at the Center, we know that women business owners continue to innovate and introduce new and improved products and services. We know that these innovations help businesses become more productive and to grow. We know that women business owners are using specialized technology, and they're continuing to invest in new technologies for their businesses. So when we say women business owners, we are talking about the women and the supporters in this room. Everyone here with us today, you're all playing a role in moving that needle. Before we go, I know we're a little tiny bit over time, but there are a few organizations and people we want to give thanks to for making this event possible. First, our sponsors, Digital Nova Scotia. Thank you for partnering with us and including us in your award celebration and telling us all about these amazing businesses and giving us this insight and inspiration. Thank you to Dr. Wendy Cukier with the Women's Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub and her team. And thank you for the work that you do to support the women entrepreneurs across the country. Thank you to Rami at eSource, who's provided our secure online registration system and our virtual event platform or production. He helped make the event run smoothly in this new virtual space. Congratulations to all the nominees and the recipients of this year's Digital Diversity Awards. It's through your businesses that we can continue to develop and to see change through the startup and the business sector. And thank you to our guest speaker, Marie, for taking the time out of her busy schedule to share your global learnings and your insights with us today. It was excellent. And to Wendy again for guiding today's discussion. Thank you to Erin. Big shout out to Erin as our event MC. And a last big thing, and no, not last, sorry, but a really special thank you to Colleen Ritchie, our CWB membership and events coordinator. She just dove right into virtual event planning and made this whole event possible. We are supported by the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, ACOA, and Mount St. Vincent University. So we always give great big thanks to them for providing support to us over the years. And last, but certainly not least, a huge thank you to you, to all of you who took the time to be with us today, to attend our annual Innovate event. We want to ensure that spending time with us is valuable, and we believe that innovation it's what drives business today. We all need support to help navigate new situations, challenges, and opportunities. We are here to support you. And that's one of the things that I heard in some of the conversations, some of the discussion was there was nobody out there to help. But we are here to help. Reach out to us. connect with us about business advising or programming, we're here for you. And one last note, we're going to be sending a post-evaluation survey to everyone here either tonight or tomorrow. Please take a few minutes to fill it out. It's one of our first big virtual events, and your feedback is going to help us continue to navigate this new virtual event space. I want to thank you everybody again. Have a great rest of your evening.